So after J-Mo was killed in episode 2, his body was found in the river, and the heat really is on Meech. Lamar hit Meech and Terry's business with the Stoneburgers and the Stash House thanks to Kato's help, again showing how crazy his character and mindset really is, but Pat also showing us the same and what he's capable of because he wants to keep Terry and Meech under his thumb. But they found a new connect who's Big L, who showed herself at the beginning of the episode but only revealed herself to Terry because she was impressed with how he handles himself. Now Meech has a huge issue with Kato because she's got their trust after she helped Toop at the Stash House while they were being shot at by Lamar, and now she's in bed with B Mickey. Shit could get even worse for Meech and his business from inside, and the last thing he needs is an internal conflict while his crew's being hit from the outside by Lamar and the 12th Street Boys. But we're talking all things episode 4 in this review and recap. But of course, if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything BMF and Power Universe related. But this episode kicked off with Big Meech telling us that him and his brother were too determined and too destined to be the best ever to play the cocaine game. Money became their addiction, being able to buy whatever the fuck they wanted. And it's because when he was a young kid, as we're taken back into Meech's childhood again, he wanted to impress Simone. But as we know, Meech and Terry, they grew up in a house where they weren't exactly blessed with money. They weren't even able to keep their fridge full, but Meech was determined, which of course backfired. But the OG Pat, he seems to pop up everywhere. We saw in the last episode when he rolled up to Meech in the strip club, when he brought his deadline forward, because if he could afford to party in a strip club, then he could afford to pay Pat his money. And he did the same thing in this episode, twice. He tells Meech, don't ever be ashamed of who you are and where you come from. And he does look after him, but he seems to know where Meech is at all times and what he's up to. And that's because he taught him everything he knew about the game. And although Pat was the one he looks up to the most, eventually I think Meech will probably have to take him out because of how he wants to go his own way. And Pat just showed what he thinks about Meech looking for a new connect, and he showed us what he's really capable of when he dealt with Rock later on in the episode, which we'll get to. But as we come to the present day, we're at Meech's stash house where B Mickey sent Hoop and Kato instead because his mom was sick and he was busy with her at the hospital, which we learned later on in the episode. And B Mickey isn't someone who's known for disappearing, he's always on call, despite the differences him and Meech have. And now there's only a handful of people who know where the stash house is, and that's Meech, Terry, Hoop, Kato, and B Mickey. And even if Kato has done enough to convince them for now, I'm sure this is something Meech and Terry will figure out later on who gave up the stash house. But with their current stash, they've only got about 2 or 3 days worth of product left, which is why we see Meech going to Pat, asking him for more product, 3 keys worth, which he wants to buy all up front. But as we know from the previous episode, Pat is someone who likes to keep Meech and Terry under his thumb, which was the same case in this episode when he only gave 1 brick to Meech. But as we mentioned last week, smoking your crack is a huge no, and Meech told Rock that it's a work hazard and he's pissed that he hasn't got the product that he wants. But Rock tells him that he can't give him what he doesn't have, and Pat's fell off, which is why he's been micromanaging Meech and Terry's supply. But there's always another game in town, and all he had to do was let them know when he was ready to play. And of course, there's always another connect, all you have to do is find them. So he tells his brother that he knows someone in the projects called K9 who sets up a meet with Big L, but they were walking away from the person that gave them what they had now. Just as we saw at the beginning of the episode, Pat gave Meech everything he wanted. He said that they lost sight of the big picture. Pat gave them their stripes. He wasn't just a mentor to them, he was family, and they were walking away from him. But this is what Meech and Terry were chasing. They were chasing that American dream, and when you have a tunnel vision, it does make you lose sight of the bigger picture. But as they go and meet with a new connect, Big L, he fails to show up. But we later realize that this is Big L. She only revealed herself to Terry at the end of the episode because she only wants to do business with him because she likes Terry and the way he carries himself, which I'm sure Meech won't like, and this may even cause a bit of conflict between the two brothers because this whole time Meech has been the one who's been the decision maker. But because they thought they'd been stood up by K9's connect, Big L, they went back to Rock, who said he knows someone out in Florida, and they were taken by some of Pat's men into the sticks. And this is where Pat really shows us how crazy he is, because he really does go off in this scene. It's the first time we've actually seen this side to Pat, where he laid into Meech and Terry and told them that he knows everything that goes down in the streets. But this is where Meech protects his brother, and this is the theme I spoke of after the very first episode, where we'll see this theme, where whenever Terry is in trouble, Meech will protect him. He's always protecting his baby brother and wants Pat to deal with him, but leave Terry out of it. But instead, he rips into Rock's skull because he wasn't doing his job properly apparently, and Pat had to work out what was going on in the streets himself, and he left this mess for Meech and Terry to deal with, something which Terry was having a vision of during his christening for his baby. Seeing this is something they've probably never seen before, and it affected him. You could see it did. But as they finished the christening ceremony, Detective Bryant and Lopez want to talk to Meech about J-Mo's disappearance, the body which they found down in the river with a gunshot wound to the head, because they knew their boss wasn't messing around. they were after every drug dealer in the street, and the Flannery brothers were on their board. We know that Detective Bryant has been helping Meech in the streets, and in return, he keeps his pockets full of cash. But enough is enough for Detective Bryant after he specifically told him not to kill J-Mo, which was B. Mickey's fault. But Detective Bryant needs the money as well as Meech needing protection, so I'm sure we'll see Detective Bryant protecting Meech, but for how long? How long can Detective Bryant keep Lopez away from sniffing around the Flannery brothers, because someone will have to go down for J-Mo. But let's talk all things Lamar in episode 4, and with both J-Mo and his second in command out the way, Flamel, after the warning that he gave him last week at the hospital, Lamar has taken full control over the 12th Street boys, and his plan hasn't changed. He's slowly working his way back up to the top. And his next move was to shut down the 50 boys as he throws down a few dollar bills for some new diapers for Terry's baby, and he shuts down their food truck business with the Stoneburgers. And this was thanks to Kato, of course. Lamar rolls up and tells everybody that there's a secret menu which has a Stoneburger, but of course it's a secret menu for a reason, and now that everybody knows, they had to shut down. And this was one way Lamar hit Meech's organization, thanks to Kato in this episode. The second was a stash house, and shutting down their food truck wasn't his main play. His main play was to hit the stash house, and as we touched on earlier on in the video, there were only 5 people who knew where the stash house was, which was B, Mickey, Kato, Meech, Terry and Hoop. And he was the one who clocked onto Lamar's play and what was really going on as he went back to the stash house to find their whole stash was taken by Lamar and his boys. And this is where we saw the shootout between the two crews, with Hoop hitting one of the 12th Street boys and Kato coming to help Hoop, firing shots to make it look like she was there to help Hoop and protect their stash house. We seem to have shown Meech that she was loyal to them, because we saw Hoop back up Kato as B, Mickey and Hoop tell Meech and Terry that Lamar got them for everything. And with B, Mickey and Meech, who haven't seen eye to eye, they're at each other's throats again, and he lays one on B, Mickey. But with Terry being so exhausted with what Pap put them through tonight, they don't want to make any decisions now, which is smart from Terry, because they need to regroup and think of a way to hit Lamar back, because they definitely will need to strike back. But here's where there's a problem for Meech. He doesn't see eye to eye with Kato, he doesn't see eye to eye with B, Mickey, and now they're in bed with each other, which is going to put Meech's whole business and operation at risk, because if Kato can swing B, Mickey, then there's more trouble on the horizon for Meech, because Kato's got no choice, because Lamar isn't given her one. And we know from today's episode that he used to know Kato's father, and we'll probably learn more about their past in history as the season goes on. But elsewhere in the episode, we were introduced to Lori, who's Meech's baby moms, as we see little Nika as well for the first time, and Karen, who's Pastor Swift's niece, taking on Kerry's case against the hospital, which they will get a payout for, and this will be the start of a new business for Terry and Meech. But that was episode 4, and more problems for Meech as his food truck idea and Stoneburgers is shut down, and how this stash house was hit for everything by Lamar and the 12th Street boys, and Lamar really does have the upper hand right now, there's no doubt about it. But as Terry said, they need some rest, and they need to think of what to do next. So what is Meech's plan next? How is he going to hit Lamar back? He's got issues with his business, external and internal, with the internal conflict he has with B, Mickey, and now him being in bed with Kato. That's going to put their whole business at further risk. But let me know what you guys made of episode 4 down below in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think what Meech has planned next, and will Lamar stay one step ahead of them? Drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and of course if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything BMF and Power Universe related. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.